Hello, we are live. It's Sara and Bee. I'm the second one. Um, Doing great with the whole starting the stream and introducing ourselves. Um,
I was gonna be like, "Hi, Sara.
yeah, no, I
I'm
really,
I'm B. Pronouns they them."
I'm Sara she they. And it's like Freaky Friday except it's Thursday and it's on Twitch.
I
Um,
always wanted to know what it's like to be white.
um, it comes with a lot of benefits that should not exist. Um, anyway, we've very quickly switched bodies back. We're now in the opposite. I am once again B, they them, and welcome to the second stream where we are playing through the games in our Towards a Free Palestine Game Jam that we hosted. Um, Last time we were streaming and showing off the games, we played through 4 of them. We played through I Wish for a Day, which was a game poem, which had lots of very striking floral imagery, and a wonderful, well, I guess wonderful isn't the right word, but a strong sense of repetition and the difficulties that come with daily life of being a Palestinian in Gaza. We had Sounds of Silence, a very affecting game from Ahmed Mustafa, where you played as a young boy trying to rescue his sister, and that was very stressful and very visceral. We also had A Rascal Children of Gaza, again another poem, but based on a pre-existing poem that felt quite a lot like puppet theatre. And then we finished off with Resist, 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 which was incredibly striking, and invigorating and powerful. And the jam as a whole was to fit the theme of Towards a Free Palestine, and what that might look like. And we hosted it last year, and we had some really great results, and we're going to play through some more of them today. And one of the important aspects of what we're doing currently while we're streaming is fundraising for medical aid for Palestinians, which Sara can take over explaining more on that front.
Thanks, B. Yeah, so for those of you who tune into our streams regularly, this will be no news to you, but we are still fundraising for medical aid for Palestinians. If you type in the command !Palestine into the chat, you'll get a link to our fundraiser. Medical Aid for Palestinians is a really, really important organization which works to get medical aid to Palestinians, as it says in the name. This kind of work is always vital, but to give kind of a summary of why it's vital in particularly in the Gaza Strip at the moment, but also in the West Bank. Gaza has been under siege by Israel since October. We're now looking at, I think I saw today that 27,000 is the confirmed death toll, but we're likely looking at higher numbers still. At this point, there are no fully functioning hospitals left in Gaza, so yeah, no fully functioning hospitals left in Gaza. I mean, let that sink in. I feel like I just said it, and it's not really, like I can't even comprehend, you know. But that's kind of the situation that we're in at the moment, and you know, as disease and starvation and bombardment continue, and as aid trucks continue to be blockaded on their way into Gaza, it's absolutely vital to get medical aid to Palestinians, and raising as much money as we possibly can as things progress. Whatever comes next is just always going to be important, because you know, even if we get a ceasefire soon, which, you know, inshallah we will, Gaza is going to need to rebuild, and that's going to take a lot of work, and that's going to take a lot of resources, and it's going to take a lot of money. Medical Aid for Palestinians is one amazing organization that you can
Oh, might be cutting out slightly.
To learn more about Palestine and the Palestinian struggle, you can type in !BDS in the chat, which takes you to two very helpful resources. The first is the BDS, or Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions official website, where you can learn more about how to take action to support Palestine and to show your solidarity with Palestinians, which includes taking part in the BDS movement. And the website will tell you all about the 3 core demands of BDS, which are right of return for Palestinians to their homes at the end of the military occupation of the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem, and equal rights and equality for all Palestinians and all people living between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. So those are the 3 core demands of the BDS movement, and the tactics are boycotting Israeli goods companies and other companies, not necessarily Israeli, that are complicit in the genocide and the colonization of Palestinians, and pressuring companies to divest and pressuring our government to impose sanctions on Israel. So that's the BDS campaign, because money is great, but this is a political situation and it's a political crisis, so we need to take political action. And finally, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you just want to understand more, or you're confused, or whatever the case may be, Decolonize Palestine is a fantastic resource that's Palestinian-led and offers basics on the Palestinian struggle and myth-busting on common talking points and all sorts of other great knowledge. So if you type in !BDS in the chat, you can access that as well.
Thank you very much, Sara. And also, just kind of on the point of, there's been like a lot of discussions around boycotts at the minute that I think a lot of people have not necessarily misinterpreted, but there's a lot of confusion around them. I think people have been the point of feeling overwhelmed. People have felt overwhelmed by what they should or should not boycott. Just prioritize looking at what BDS movement is calling for to start, and then do your own research past that point. There have been a lot of kind of like natural boycotts that have arisen from it that BDS themselves have called for, in McDonald's being the prime example of that. But there are outside ones like Starbucks, which I don't believe is an official one as of yet from BDS movement. But it's also it's a particularly useful resource in knowing the main targets to boycott. And as Sara said, Decolonize Palestine is just a really, really wonderful resource and has helped me kind of when I started to learn everything that's been happening with Palestine over the past 70 plus years. I've only started to learn about it in the past few years myself, and now obviously feel quite passionate about it because of the efforts that everyone has put in to help provide education on that front. And also,
that's a really good point. Thank you, Bee.
No problem. Good evening to Caitlin. Hello. Hopefully the audio should be okay. We shouldn't have any technical issues this time round.
Do let us know if you think that our pacing is weird, or we sound like we're talking over each other but not knowing that we're talking over each other.
Which was the big problem last time. If we're not talking over currently, because we are kind of like talking right after each other, it should be fine. Sid, hello. Welcome on in.
Hi, Caitlin.
Lovely to have you. Cool. So the first game we have on the docket is called In the Shadow of an Olive Tree by Alibaba. The description is guide the growth of the trees to create protection. And again, not entirely sure what it will be like. I think based on just kind of booting up the menu, there doesn't seem to be any audio options. So I think probably the best course of action is we'll play through it. I will, if there's text, read things aloud, see what that's like, and then we'll discuss afterwards, just because balancing Discord and PC audio is a little difficult. Cool. Yeah, I will boot that up now, and also make sure that Sara can see it.
Okay, awesome. Protect Gaza with olive tree branches. So that's the subtitle for this one. I'm looking at the page on itch.io.
Yes, and that's what it says on the main menu. And yeah, you should be able to see it now, Sara. Cool. Can anyone let me know if the game is a bit too loud? I can turn it down. on
I can
OBS.
see and hear it.
Cool, great. Oh, can't see the game. Yeah, that's an important one. Yeah. That's
There's some lovely music happening right now.
there is some lovely music.
Yeah, the
happening.
audio is good.
Okay. Cool, great. Right. Should be fine. Let's have a look. Cool, great, thank you very much.
Yes, yeah, that seems to be up now. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that might be the instrument that is playing might be an oud, which for people who don't know is basically like a ancient instrument that comes from that region and is actually, I was reading about this the other day, that the guitar, the European...
Oh.
With the Arab world, they met people who played oud, and that's where the guitar comes from, actually, which is pretty crazy. This is okay. So we're literally we are literally protecting Gaza from rockets with olive branches.
Yes. Or trying to anyway.
Trying to, yeah. That's so interesting. Can you click on the ground and make a new tree grow, or does that only happen when a branch has fallen?
That only happens when a branch has fallen. Or no, it seems you need to grow it to a certain height.
Right, okay.
Okay, because this seems to be, again, like kind of randomly growing. Except that does result in me...
Say, though. Wow.
Okay, so I think I'm starting to figure out how this works. So every time a rocket is hitting the ground, the timer in the top left here resets.
Oh, I didn't even notice the timer. Okay.
Yeah. And I think if you let missile fall,
yeah,
that also then resets it.
Interesting.
So let me test that. Okay, no, unless, right, yeah, it's only if a new one hits the ground.
It looks like it changes colors when it deactivates.
Yeah.
The missile. This is I mean, it's a simple concept for a game, and like one that I've seen before mechanically, but it's like very powerful actually. In terms of the imagery, I feel like there's already like a lot that I could say about this.
It also seems like there's kind of only so much that you can... like a tree will grow.
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out there for a sec for me.
Oh,
but
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much more going on there is than just this loop.
Yeah, there's like 30 seconds. Let's try and hope that, I guess, this is enough.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you've covered most of the...
Yeah.
Oh.
I think any that go off to the side is
you're
fine.
safe for the ones. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you did it.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
what happens?
Okay. In the shadow of an olive tree, olive trees take up to 12 years to become fruitful and can live for 2,000 years. Tending to these trees is a generational task passed on over a millennium. In Palestine, the olive tree is a symbol of freedom. The olive tree represents a deep connection to the earth it grows on. In essence, olive trees in Palestine are proof of the people's long-standing connection to the land. Thank you for playing. Music credit, Rahim Ahaj on the Oud, an NPR music Tiny Desk concert, apparently.
Oh, I'm gonna write that down.
Sure.
I was actually looking for ambient oud music for for my video essay.
Okay.
So, perfect. Al-Hajj? Yeah, Rahim Al-Hajj. Also, I love a Tiny Desk concert.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Sorry, I've written that down now.
No problem.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was. I really like the kind of quite the idea of caring for something over such a long time, no matter how long it takes to kind of bring about. Obviously, like, you know, currently there has been no such thing as permanent peace for Palestinians for, you know, over 70 years, but there's a very much a thing there of continuing to grow olive trees, which have obviously historically been a source of connection between friends and families, of being able to survive in terms of food survival, and also sharing that again with friends and families in terms of being, you know, having a living, and then kind of mixing it with the survival that takes place from you know, military attacks from Israel is quite an interesting balance, quite an interesting way to represent the care that comes from looking after an olive tree, and this, you know, the sheer strength of it in the face of destruction, of still keeping in touch with this aspect of Palestinian culture.
Yeah, that's quite poignant. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that you know, I don't know how much folks are familiar, but olives, and specifically olive trees, are like a very potent symbol in the Palestinian cultural imagination in general, but also like particularly since kind of the onset of settler colonialism, settler colonization of Palestinian land. And, you know, exactly as, you know, this creator kind of said in the game, part of the reason for that is that the Palestinian tradition of tending olive trees has been alive and well for thousands of years. The knowledge of how to, you know, grow olives and harvest olives is something that, you know, people have practiced for generations and generations in the land of historic Palestine. And not only, I think, you know, for a lot of people, it represents the connection of an indigenous people to their land, which is often a relationship of, you know, care and mutuality. You know, a lot of people, rightly so, will call indigenous folks kind of the stewards of their land. And I think that for many indigenous people, the way that they think about their relationship to the land, as opposed to kind of like a colonial capitalist relationship to land, is one of like care and mutuality, and not, you know, exploitation and ownership and these things. There's no sense of like, we as Palestinians own olive trees, right? And I think that there's something Yeah, and of course there's the fact that it takes so much time and patience and love and care to tend to an olive tree. I think quite by contrast, what it takes to destroy an olive tree, which is a common practice by Israel routinely, and for a very specific purpose, destroys Palestinian olive groves, and there are these quite harrowing videos of Palestinians who have tended these olive groves for generations, like crying, like sobbing over the loss of their trees, which is heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking to watch as Israeli soldiers bulldoze them, burn them, destroy them, and the idea that it takes decades to care and tend to and grow olives, and it takes seconds and a complete lack of humanity to destroy them is something that's very very harrowing to think about. But the way that in this game, the kind of building on what you were saying, be the olive trees become the protectors
Mm-hmm.
of well, it's interesting. You don't see like Palestinian people in that game, but I suppose it's kind of inferred, right?
Well, I there's a chance you might not have been able to hear it over the music, but you can actually hear the sounds of like children playing.
Oh yeah, I couldn't really hear it. That's
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
So that there is still like a presence of people kind of pointing to you towards what it is that you're protecting, as the player, and in turn that's kind of once the minute has completely counted down, there's no more music. There is just kind of the sound of children playing, and so yeah, I guess that is there in a sense. There is still like a presence of people, and you are trying to, because it sounds like a playground, a school playground kind of background audio track is what it sounded like to me.
That's really interesting. I guess that it's interesting because it kind of reflects a choice to infer that there are children there specifically.
Yeah.
Of course, like about half of the population of Gaza, for people who don't know, is children. Um, yeah, and then I was thinking, like, while you were playing it, that seeing the way that like they, yeah, I guess you were kind of alluding to this as well, like the way that one of the trees or branches will be destroyed, but then a new one will grow
Mm.
in its place. It's quite powerful as well.
I think
Uh,
there's an interesting thing there of, the trees are a literal protection,
mm,
but they are also a figurative protection of, protecting the land is protecting the culture, and obviously again, as we've been talking about, the practice of harvesting olives and caring for olives is a deep part of Palestinian culture. So it works kind of on two levels there,
mm,
which I find quite interesting. I also, it reminds me of like 2000s era Flash games quite a lot,
yeah,
which I can't
yeah.
really, you can't really tell if that's a purposeful choice in aesthetic. Um, but I think it's kind of, I guess Flash games were just there to be these mind-numbing things that you did maybe while you're in IT at school, or you're bored for like 15 minutes at home while you're waiting for your tea or something, and they could often be like these tower defense kind of style games, but they never they never really had a story or much meaning to them. So I think kind of using that design framework in such political messaging is quite unique, because the history of Flash
Mm.
games is quite underappreciated, considering it's where like a lot of people, particularly in the indie scene, would have gotten their start. So I just find that quite interesting, I guess, on the design side of things.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's pretty remarkable to kind of make such a like mechanically and visually simple thing so kind of dense with meaning. So that is very cool.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any other thoughts that you want to share? I might have cut you off slightly.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. No, I mean, that was just short and sweet, very cool. Really interesting. A lot to talk about, even though it was so short, right? Which is great. Yeah, very cool game.
Sorry, excuse me. I think that's the thing with games that are approaching such a topic, is that, like, no matter the length or the scale of them, there's clearly so much thought put into them, even if they don't necessarily have the resources to realize them to, I guess, a higher potential. Like, there's definitely different ways you could take the game to kind of, I guess, make it more complex. Again, like, gamify the things more if that's something that you wanted to do, or to try and put a spin on that kind of, like, tower defense style genre. But I think it's also it shows you a lot of the. I think I spoke last stream a bit about, like, narrative design, and shows you how important that is to deliver these kinds of stories, no matter how simple they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi Faye, no problem.
Yes,
Lurk away.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. Great. So yeah, we have 3 more to go through. I think maybe we'll take a look at Amal from Ahmed Mustafa, who mentioned earlier, made Sounds of Silence, which was definitely one of the ones that affected both of us quite a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
As just as a point, we've taken, like, very brief looks. We haven't played any of them. It seems to be that this one only has text in Arabic, so unfortunately I will not be able to read that. And Sara has said that they are not necessarily. They most likely will not be able to either. But if there is anyone in.
I think that the most illustrative thing that I can say is that I have the Arabic of, like a toddler.
Sure.
I can read it incredibly slowly, and I will make mistakes.
Sure.
So I'm definitely not a level where I can read it in real time, and my vocab is, like, very generally simple. So yeah, unfortunately.
That's fine.
Hopefully someday, but unfortunately not today, at a level where my Arabic is functional enough to play a video game entirely in Arabic.
Sure.
Sadly.
Right, let me see. I need to actually share this. It seems to pause whenever I go off thing. I need to share this with Sara just quickly. Can people on stream see it? Because it seems... Okay, yeah, it just disappears when I go, like, onto OBS or onto Discord. Cool, okay. So, yeah, from the looks of things, it's a platformer. It kind of reminded me... The character that you play kind of reminded me of the character from Limbo. The maybe decade-old platformer now. Cool, great. Thank you, Caitlin. So we'll take a look.
The picture in the background is of the Dome of the Rock at Al-Aqsa Mosque in Al-Quds or Jerusalem.
Oh, thank you very much.
You don't know. Yeah, you can see the Dome of the Rock in the background.
Sure.
It's the big golden dome. I love the little noises he's making.
Yeah. Oh god. Okay.
Oh no.
I'd be curious to know, because there was a lot of text there for the game over screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there is
There we go. You can do a double jump.
You can.
Oh my god, no, this is moving so fast, I can't read it.
Yeah.
Why am I even trying?
And it looks like we can...
What's that?
It has the Palestinian flag on it, on a shield of a eagle bird, something like that. Is that imagery that you're familiar with?
Of an eagle?
Well, it's some kind of bird. It kind of looks like an eagle, yeah.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm
Oh,
not sure.
oh, that's interesting.
I see. So yeah, so that in the top right corner is a map of historic Palestine.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're collecting pieces to fill in the map.
Oh.
Oh no.
God, I definitely have thoughts on like failing to. God.
Oh my god.
Also, it
The
seems that
kid
there's
is cute, yeah.
different texts whenever you die.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other word for what's happening. It's death. Oh,
Yeah.
gruesome death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might make an attempt to go back over this VOD and take, like, half an hour to try and read some sentences.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, no. Or I'll send it to my mother.
Palestine sunbird. Good question.
Right, I think I've heard some things about...
I don't think so. It's a beautiful bird, though. I would recommend it to everyone to Google this bird. It's gorgeous. But
well, we don't know what we're Googling. Palestine bird.
Oh no!
Gorgeous.
What Caitlin said in chat, a Palestine sunbird.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
A very specific bird, but I don't think it is. It does kind of look more like an eagle, or similar type of bird.
I don't think I can see it well enough to tell. I'm gonna make my screen larger.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, I mean, I just googled a Palestinian sunbird and it's very pretty.
I kind of. There's things happening to do with kind of the level design that I feel like I would normally take issue with in another platformer. But oh, thank you so much, Whoosh. Hello, hello.
Oh, hi Foosh, welcome. You were right in time for us playing a game and collectively not having enough Arabic
Yeah.
for it.
Of course, oh god, so it's the official bird of Palestine, Caitlin believes, and there was a campaign made by Israel to have the name changed. Of course there
That's
was.
interesting. That's, yeah, I mean, classic.
Oh, there was some kind of sound there, but I don't know what it was. It might have just been the subscription sound coming through late.
Meet the national bird of Palestine, the sunbird. Interesting. I'm gonna look at some different sources later on, I think, to learn more about that, but... Very cool. Oh, it has information about what's been happening in Palestine. Thank you, Frush, as always. How are you doing, by the way? How's everyone been doing? Hope you're having a good... What day is it today?
Oh, I took that
Thursday.
too quickly,
It's
sorry.
Thursday.
I believe
that's okay.
it was, again, an image of the dome that we could see in the background earlier.
Yeah, so that's the Dome of the Rock. I could talk a little bit about the Dome of the Rock if people don't know what that is. Yeah, so that big golden dome is the Dome of the Rock, which is part of Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is located in Jerusalem, or as it's commonly called in Arabic, Al-Quds. It's been there since, more or less, since the Abbasid Caliphate first took control of the city and of historic Palestine. So we're talking about like the 8th century, 8th or 9th century that it was first built. And it's built on essentially like one of the holiest sites in Islam. So a lot of the time when people are talking about why Jerusalem is a holy city for all of the Abrahamic faiths.
Sorry, just one second.
No problem. You good?
Yeah, it's just there was a Discord sound and I wanted to just set myself to do not disturb just so that doesn't happen again.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so the reason why Jerusalem is one of the holiest places in Islam is because of Laylatul Isra, which is the night journey or something like that, and is basically when Allah made the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam fly in one night from, I think, Mecca to Jerusalem, and it was like a miracle, obviously. Although, importantly, a miracle performed by Allah, not by the Prophet. And from there he ascended to heaven and then back down to earth, and that's why it's one of the holiest places in Islam. So a lot of Muslims want to, go on pilgrimage there. It's something I've actually talked to a couple of my friends about, because as much as I would love to go there someday, there's also, I don't want to do that. I don't ethically, morally want to do that until Palestine is free, because the only way to do that, it's colonized territory right now. So the only way to get there, even if that was like an option for me, because I don't think that I would, I don't know if they would let me in, because I'm Muslim and like Saudi and Pakistani and all of that. But even if they did, it's crossing an international picket line. So some people do it anyway, though. I'm not. I don't back that personally.
Thank you for providing some context there, and also thank you to Fufush, who says, I didn't manage to read that one quick enough, but the first sentence was that the IOF kidnapped and captured over 700 children, I think since October 3rd. And I think depending on where you fail in the stage, give you a specific piece of info, because I saw the same piece of info when you fell on the same spikes, but can't read it fast enough. The text is appearing very, very fast. And also, a difficult statistic was also written there: 1 out of every 2 children have experienced assault from the settlers and IOF. Is one of the other pieces of text that was there. Thank you very, very much for translating, Fush. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fush.
There's also sorry, I was just going to say, just because there's another piece of the map here, which again imagery I'm not familiar with. I don't know. Can you see it? Okay, Sara, or?
Yeah, I've made my screen a bit bigger, and so the thing that's quite interesting is that I think that so I think what you're looking at is the logo for Fatah, which is like a political organization, a Palestinian political organization. And then, because I recognize the one of the Dome of the Rock, and I think that might be I'm gonna check, but
you are right about this one, by the way.
Yeah, the other one I think is Hamas's logo, and then the one on the bottom I'm not sure. So this is actually like very overtly political imagery.
Okay, so the bird is the coat of arms of Palestine. I am just on Wikipedia just to quickly gather some information. So the coat of arms of Palestine may refer to the emblem used by the State of Palestine and Palestinian National Authority, or the emblem used by the Palestine Liberation Organization. So it is an eagle.
So that's the PLO.
The PLO,
Yes,
I think.
yes, it is. Sorry, it's clicking for me now, because
No,
I've
that's
seen
okay.
the PLO's coat of arms before. Yeah, so PLO, Hamas, Fatah. That's all of their political logos, though, and those are all different Palestinian political organizations.
Okay, wow, great, yes, okay, interesting.
Also, yes, I am Saudi. And I am your neighbor.
Oops.
The sound kills me.
Yeah.
I think he's wearing a little keffiyeh as well.
He is, yeah. I was going to mention LA, but it slipped my mind.
Interested in what you were saying about the issues that you would usually have with platformers.
Yeah, I'll get into those at the once I've managed to get through it. I'm having thoughts on difficulty and level design and kind of conventions of this style of platformer, because it is like it's a precision platformer is the genre. Nice work. There's just a few left. The bottom text says, "Thank you very much, Whoosh." And I find that a very interesting choice of specifically like platformer to use for such a game.
Yeah. We can park that, but that's very interesting observation.
Mostly just because it is taking a surprising amount of concentration, because of the need to be precise.
Yes, yeah. The subtitles are fast, but I think the kid is reminiscing back to when things were okay and talking about being in school. It's very sad. Yeah. I think I was gonna say something, but then my brain went blank. I mean, I would say that for folks who are interested, like, you know, learning about all of those different political parties and their history is really quite interesting. Did we bring up the PLO earlier? Yeah, no, we did before the stream, because I was going to talk about the PLO in reference to a different game, so I'll park that.
Sure.
But, you know, I think that, you know, there's a lot of narratives that go around about Palestinians and their political affiliations, and a lot of these narratives are very simplistic, very dehumanizing, very flattening, and, you know, Palestinians, like any group of people, are diverse, and you know, since the history of the settler colonization of Palestine, various Palestinian movements, political organizations, unions, civil society organizations have been formed, and a lot of people have different opinions and beliefs and activities with regards to their response to the occupation. And I think that it's something that I would encourage people to learn more about, because otherwise I think that we internalize a view of Palestinians which is dehumanizing in its own way, which is that they all believe or feel the same thing about their conditions. And the three political parties listed here are very different.
Can you see? Are you familiar with the final piece there? The imagery of it.
I don't know if I recognize that logo, but give me a second.
Sure.
I might be able to figure it out. But we've reached Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is interesting. And the only other game I can think of where that happens is Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, which you've been playing recently.
Indeed, I have.
Okay, I will try. Hopefully, I can grab this. Okay. And there we have the map complete, and there's more text. Oh, and singing has been added as well, which is interesting.
Indeed. Yeah, these are some different political logos.
Okay.
Okay, trying to look for a resource that I might have saved somewhere about contemporary Palestinian politics, but if I don't, I can't find it, then that's fine. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Oh, the game's called Hope. Okay, that makes a lot of sense given the thing you are doing in the game, and the more hopeful bits of text of nice work. There's just a few left.
So long as we have the soul. This is interesting because I think that the imagery of like the map of historic Palestine and the different like political factions that are separate but all being united under like the map of historic Palestine is quite an interesting choice. Yeah, I'm not sure about the final logo, which seems a shame because I felt very proud of being able to recognize the other one.
Well, I mean, 3 out of 4, I think, is a great result. Any which way you look at
but
it.
Fouche is right. Even if you can read Arabic, reading Arabic calligraphy is significantly more difficult.
I can talk about my thoughts on the design aspects of it and why I find it interesting.
Yeah, please do.
So, as I was talking about just a moment ago, it is a precision platformer and a challenging one. And thank you very much, Fouche. No problem at all, and thank you for everything you've done so far. So some popular examples of that kind of like challenging precision platform. This I wouldn't, it's not the most challenging one in the world. There are definitely, there are harder ones, but there are games like, I think it's a game called like VVVVV. There might be more V's than that. There's a game that's just called, I think, just Love. There's another one called I Know the Guy. I Want to Be the Guy. And the whole, there's not really stories in them. They're just like meant to be difficult. And so I find it interesting that it's kind of leaning into that, because a lot of those types of games also, actually, let me get it up in a browser. Okay, I Want to Be the Guy. So yeah, it's quite a classic.
Oh, it's the Arab League. Thank you, Fouche. Yeah, I feel a bit stupid now as well. Okay.
So yeah, you should be able to, I think, see it on OBS. Yeah, if you look at that, like, you can kind of see how the design framework is quite similar with the spikes and the kind of blocky level layout. It's kind of tapping into that. And again, those games don't have a narrative, but this one does. You're trying to get to Al-Aqsa Mosque, and it's difficult, and I think using a challenging precision platformer framework to kind of be representative of the challenges, the almost impossible level of challenges that the kind of Israel puts in place to be able to visit it, a very interesting choice. And the thing that I thought, there are parts of the game where I think in another game I think it would be kind of bad and unfair design, where you can't really see beneath you sometimes, so you can't see some of the spikes that are there, and you have to like act quickly, and it's not really quite precise enough to let you act quickly. There was kind of one at the end where I made an assumption that it was going to do that and acted accordingly. But I kind of like that in this context, because again, it's using trickery to make you think you're maybe safer than you are, and is being unfair to you, the player, similarly in the ways that Israel might treat a Palestinian. They will not be fair to them. They will use underhanded tactics in any kind of way possible.
Really interesting. I feel like that one kid in that one video. Have you ever heard of Korea? No, severe Korea. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Did you manage to read that calligraphy though? So I think it says something like Jam al Dawla al Arabiya, something like that. It's probably wrong, but Yeah, the Arab League. That's interesting because it brings like a um, pan-Arab frame into it. So pan-Arabism, for people who don't know, is a political movement that kind of rose in the early 20th century as a response to Western imperialism, where basically there's like I guess like a political movement that is about the idea of like how the Arab world is united in their struggle against Western imperialism. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's the basic political ideology, and it's got parallels to like Pan-Africanism as well.
Oh, go on.
I'm just laughing about what Fush is saying in the chat.
Sure,
What were
sure,
you
sure.
gonna say?
No, I was also just going to say what Fush was saying in the chat. Yeah, so again, as mentioned, this is from Ahmed Mustafa, who also did Sounds of Silence, which also kind of intermingled like factual, bits of facts and statistics in places with what the game is happening. I also just think kind of like we technically, I think let me just check the Game Jam page. I feel like Sound of Silence might be newer.
I think it is, yeah. Ahmed Mustafa has done a few games. I think I followed him on Twitter after we played Sound of Silence. I think he mostly was tweeting in Arabic.
Yeah, so having a look at the itch pages, Sound of Silence was released last year, whereas Amal was released initially in 2021. So I think this was just like resubmitted for the jam, which is it's fine. And I think it's quite interesting the ways that he has, looking back at Sound of Silence. I'll get that up on the browser again, just so people can see that again as well.
Oh yes, he goes by Kabrit Games.
Yeah,
I mean, he's done some from the two that we've played, some pretty interesting stuff.
I think it's interesting to kind of see like the way that he has progressed in trying to present like the real world factual information, statistical information, and it's again we both found Sound of Silence very, very challenging on an emotional level, where I guess this one was challenging on a player kind of level, and yeah, I guess I'm just appreciating the clear growth in his work as a game developer.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, thank you for sharing his Twitter as well. How do you feel about the kind of collecting map pieces of historic Palestine and the different kind of like political representations that are there?
It's interesting because I think that I think that that there's a lot that you could say about the political groups that are represented and like the conversation that you could have there, but I don't necessarily want to focus on that. I think that what is really powerful and really interesting about it is that like often we I guess like within the movement speak about the fragmentation of Palestine and of Palestinians, and this is a really useful framework for understanding the experience of Palestinians in a lot of ways, as well as kind of how Israel aims to achieve its settler colonial goals, how it kind of strategically goes about that, and one of its strategies for achieving its settler colonial goals is the fragmentation of Palestine. And what do we mean by that? We mean quite a few things by that. One of those is geographic fragmentation. So you can see this from kind of the inception of the settler colony of Israel, or the Zionist entity, or whatever you want to call it. on top of the land of historic Palestine, because and the UN is complicit in this as well, because when the UN drew up its two-state solution, its partition plan, which in the first place was deeply horrific and unfair, because it necessarily involved the colonization of Palestine without the approval of Palestinians. Not that anyone would ever consent to be colonized, but anyway, the partition plan fragmented historic Palestine in such a way that you have the what is now called the West Bank, because it's on the west bank of the Jordan River, and the Gaza region, which is now shrunk significantly from what it was supposed to be then, even completely fragmented from each other. So when I would definitely recommend Googling UN partition plan 1947 and looking at that map, because it basically it's not like again, this would also be stupid, but it's not like it cuts a line through the middle of historic Palestine, right? It fragments it in such a way that the West Bank and Gaza are separated, and that there's no ability for freedom of movement between those locations, because they've basically wedged a settler colonial state in the middle. So and then during the beginning of the Nakba, Israeli militias, Zionist militias, which would later go on to form the Israeli occupation forces, seized more land even than that. So we had quite significant geographic.
Oh, if you can hear me, I think you're cutting out slightly.
Live in Gaza, perhaps. Perhaps their grandparents are actually from Jaffa or Nablus or Bethlehem, because they were displaced from there, and there's no way to go home, because if they wanted to go home, first they'd have to leave a concentration camp or open air prison of Gaza. Then they'd have to travel through the settler colony of Israel to even reach the West Bank, which is then surrounded by an apartheid wall and various internal checkpoints. So that's kind of the geographic fragmentation of Palestinians and the restriction of freedom of movement on one level. But we can also understand fragmentation in many other senses. And one of those senses, arguably, is political fragmentation. And I think that the representation that you see in this game is, both a stark representation of fragmentation. So you have the whole map of historic Palestine, and it's being kind of put back together from these different pieces. But also these different political factions, despite their differences, coming together. So yeah, sorry, I've been talking for a hot minute.
No, don't worry at all.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's really, really interesting.
Sorry, you took a breath. I didn't know if you had something more you wanted to say there, or if you had more thoughts.
No, it's okay. Those are my thoughts on it, I think.
No, for sure. I think one of the I think there's I guess my how do I, sorry, I'm having several thoughts at once. To do with geography, and I think a thing that is possibly slightly more difficult to understand, geography in terms of a literal political positioning, where when you think of voting, for example, right? And literal access to being near to one another, access to different parts of a region. You look at America, where it's so difficult to get around the country. You have to be able to drive, and it's why there is such difficulties with voting there, because so many voting stations are being shut down. I think a thing that might be difficult in from a lot of Western perspectives is this easy access to other parts of the country that you live in, particularly if you look at kind of like mainland Europe, a lot of countries of which have very good public transport access, I think there definitely will be an element of like, oh, I can easily get to anywhere where I want. I can take the train, I can take the bus, I can do this, that, or the other, and it can make it difficult to understand how complicated and difficult it is then to be separated and divided in such a literal way. And because kind of as you were saying, like how are, say, Gaza and the West Bank and each other's people meant to come together, even just for maybe casual family events, but especially with political movements in terms of resistance and coming together. It's there's this, you can see how the very purposeful geographical divide was put in place to weaken any kind of resistance that could come up.
Absolutely, and that's a key point, right? Is because and that's a key kind of point about why Israel does this. Like, if you fragment Palestinians, then you weaken the resistance.
For sure, it's kind of like so back from where Caitlin and I are from, because we're partners. Our home kind of like town, I guess, has horrific public transport, and it's just such a small way that even like Londoners or people that live in a city just don't appreciate the like complete ease that they have to go literally anywhere that they want. And you can look at this even from like being able to get a passport, considering how many like you cannot. There's a Palestinian comedian, is his name Mo, who has kind of done has done bits on he was fucking funnily enough, just funny because I'm half German. He was in Germany one time, and was having trouble with a passport control there, because he was like, I'm Palestinian, and the passport control was like, well, Palestine doesn't exist, and he had to get it like I changed somehow so that it said, I think maybe that he's from Jerusalem. I can't actually remember now. I can't remember the full bit, but just this kind of horrific thing of just bureaucracy deciding for someone else where they're from. And it's funny because he's a funny guy, but horrific. I'll see if I can find the bit on YouTube quick, just to share the link in the chat.
I think I've seen the bit before. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of like, if you in London wanted to visit me in Manchester, but in order to do that, if you even managed to make the journey, it would take you at least an entire day, and you would have to travel through an entire other country, somehow manage to get through, the wall of a prison, and various checkpoints, and varying degrees of harassment and humiliation and the threat of violence in order to say hi to me in Manchester. That's what we're talking about here. And I think it's really important to kind of emphasize like how horrific that is. But sorry, just catching up with chat because we've got some great points in the chat here.
Sure.
So Whoosh says, people would argue that the plan, being the UN Partition Plan of 1947, was fair because of the land percentage difference, even though this shouldn't have happened in the first place. But the locations and areas chosen are significantly different. The Zionists claimed more whole areas, like connected geographically, with fertile land and livable ground, while Palestinians have had a split, fragmented, and unfertile land. It was a doomed plan from the start. Yeah, you're 100% correct about that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like any percentage of Palestinian land being colonized is unfair, but you're absolutely right about kind of the strategic vision for kind of Israel taking fertile and connected regions. It enrages me because how do you claim more of the fertile ground when you don't even give two shits about the ecosystem that you deliberately cut down, burn, and eco-terrorize what's left of the so-called land that you're indigenous of. Yeah, 100%. 100%. This is particularly interesting if you consider how Korea was split. Yeah, I mean, we could get into the whole shebang about how Western imperialism does that. I mean, I'll be brief about it, but
you don't have to be brief. You take the time that you need. You know, we got plenty of time.
Well, I guess I'll be brief about it in the sense that so I am Saudi as well as Pakistani. Like my dad's side of the family is just straight up Pakistani. As far as I know, they've lived in like the what is now Pakistani part of Punjab for generations. But my maternal grandparents are from India, and they're Muslim, and they were during the partition of India and Pakistan when it happened in 1947, they were violently displaced from their homes and forced to go to Pakistan, and they're the new state of Pakistan that was being created. And there are a lot of parallels that you can have between the partition of India and Pakistan and the partition of historic Palestine, not least because it happened around the same time, and a lot of what was happening was kind of there's a narrative about kind of religious violence and stuff, and there's parallels there too. But yeah, and then my maternal grandparents eventually migrated to Saudi Arabia, and that's why that's where I'm from. But making those parallels is really important, and I think that we're talking about this in the context of Palestine, but connecting it to similar circumstances really starts to give us a picture of like how Western imperialism operates across the globe. And it's just not a coincidence that around the same time in history, Korea, Palestine, India, Vietnam, like all of these places were being split, fragmented by the imperialist powers. It's absolutely not a coincidence. So thank you for bringing that up, Caitlin, because that's really important. Yeah. Sorry, I keep taking a big breath because I'm speaking a lot.
No, that's okay.
And then being like, whoa, I forgot to breathe.
Sid also says that they recently learned that the US military does huge show of force with missiles, tanks, etc. once a year at the border from the southern side to reinforce the divide. That tracks fully. Yeah, and also, as Caitlin says, always ready to dunk on imperialism. We're definitely, I mean, I think it would be quite surprising if we were remotely pro that here at all.
Welcome to Game Assist, where we love imperialism, actually. I have entire 2 hours videos in defense of imperialism if you want to go and check them out.
Yeah, we're not all massive chuds for, sucking the teat of the great America.
Sucking the teat. I wasn't expecting that. The more I've learned about Palestine, the more I've learned about America's involvement in Korea. Yeah, I mean, we don't have tons of time, but please learn more about Korea and Vietnam as well.
For sure.
And Kashmir and the Indian partition and all of these things. They're all connected.
No, definitely put the time into it, because it's kind of the the Incredibles meme with where it's towards the end of the film where he's like seeing all the superheroes were killed and the robots that were rebuilt. It's kind of this like slow, horrific realization of how much history there is, and realizing that there's mostly one fucking country that's responsible for a lot of it. And obviously, a large part of the West as a whole, but obviously America has a big hand in a lot of what we've been talking about now.
Yeah, and before we kind of summarize our closing thoughts, maybe, and think about starting to move on to the next game, I yes, Vietnam is a big source of hope, of revolutionary optimism. For me, it's so inspiring that they did not give up despite the incredible genocide America subjected them to, from Swamp Goth. Yeah, 100%. That's one thing that you will also gain from learning more about Vietnam. Just to say that a huge source of revolutionary optimism. Obviously, like what the French as well, because they sure did colonize Vietnam, and the Americans did in Vietnam is like horrific on an unimaginable scale. Um, but you know what the Vietnamese accomplished in order to get their freedom from that is amazing, and we should take hope from that.
Absolutely. And also, just like very well, not very tangentially, but somewhat, just because Sarah and I also kind of like food politics. Vietnam also improved upon the baguette and with banh mi. You know, it's just like much better than any. I mean, like I love like a ham and cheese baguette, but like banh mi in all forms is just better than anything the French do. So sorry, French. I'm not really, but.
The French went to Vietnam being like, we know culture better than you. And the Vietnamese were like,
do you want to bet?
Well, do you want to fucking bet?
Yeah, two things we love to dunk on here at Game Assist: imperialism and the French.
Sorry, it just came out of me. The stupid French accent.
No, that's okay.
Shit on the French.
If we ever want a perspective from an awesome Vietnamese communist, check out Luna Oi on YouTube. I learned so much over the years from her. I will definitely take a note of that. Thank you very much, Sid.
Hey, awesome. I mean, well, that game clearly gave us a lot of food for thought in a way that I wasn't expecting.
No, for sure. And next, I think we'll probably play Flight to Palestine from... Get up in here as well. Just take a quick little look before I put the game up. From Creeper Man 16487. Very simple description. Flight to Palestine, fly a plane, collect supplies from balloons, and deliver to Palestine.
Okay.
Cool, so I will just get this up. Just 1 second.
I'm pretty interested to see what this is like.
Where are we now? Just need to get it set for Sara in a second when it boots up as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite an interesting one because you can't really fly to Palestine.
Yeah, immediately with the context. Okay, Sara, can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Cool, great. And a lot of settings actually as well. Let me get myself here.
I don't know if it's on the stream yet though.
Oh, it probably isn't. Love to remember to be good at streaming.
Fine, you've got a lot going on. I just sit here and talk.
Cool. Yes. Okay, we can see everything.
Yes, the airport in Gaza was destroyed.
A lot of languages.
Oh, dang.
Which is interesting.
That is interesting. That's cool. I wonder
they say they are a work in progress community effort.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So, yeah, there was an airport in Gaza, which I need to confirm this, but I believe that it was built... Yes, okay, it was built in 1998, but then it was destroyed during the first Intifada, which... Intifada is Arabic. No, sorry, the second Intifada. The second Intifada happened between the years 2001 and 2005, roughly. This was the time that the BDS movement became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, during that period, Israel destroyed that airport. So there's no way of flying into Gaza. I also don't think that there's any way of flying into the West Bank. I would need to corroborate that. But this is the thing, right? So when I was talking earlier about kind of having ethical opposition to going to Al-Aqsa Mosque, like the only way that you could get there, to my knowledge, is if you flew to like somewhere in the settler colony of Israel, like Tel Aviv, and then, you know, tried to like drive or get a bus or something. But then obviously you'd have to go through, you know, the apartheid wall and various checkpoints, etc., etc. Well, depending on who you are, but yeah.
Just to say, it's quick Google looking up. It seems that there is no civilian airport within the West Bank, and the nearest airport is in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you for confirming that.
Yeah, no problem. Right, well, I might need to take another look at the controls in a second. I'll see if the game actually teaches you how to play. It did have it in the settings, but I'd like to, I guess, learn through playing it. So we'll take a look at Flight to Palestine. Okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, it doesn't look like a passenger plane anyway.
Okay.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay, so this is interesting as well because you know, sometimes we talk about Israel having control of land, sea, and airspace in Gaza.
Sure, I'm just going to take it. Oh, there's a description here. Sorry, do you want to finish what you were saying first?
Well, I was just going to say that what we mean by that is often that, so for example, when it comes to controlling sea space in Gaza, you know, Palestinians aren't allowed to go more than a fixed number of nautical miles, which I believe is 15 nautical miles, from the coast of Gaza. If they do, then the Israeli Navy will shoot you. Like, they will shoot your vessel. And they justify that policy by saying that like they're trying to stop Hamas from smuggling weapons, but obviously that policy just you know, affects the food sovereignty of Palestinians who are reliant on fishing in the Gaza region. But airspace as well is controlled by Israel. So, you know, a lot of people living in Gaza talk about like the Zanana. We talked about this in the last stream. The constant like drones and the constant kind of military, kind of you know, drones and such in controlling the airspace. So yeah, if you did try to fly into Gaza and deliver aid, then yeah, they would shoot at you. So
yeah. Also, Sid, let me know if the audio is okay now. In the meantime, I will read through the explanation behind the game. Hello, in this little game your goal is simply to fly around the world, picking up packages and delivering them to Palestine as you go. There are locations marked at the top of the screen. At each point you'll find a hot air balloon waiting with a package for you to collect, fly a plane through the balloons to collect the packages. Once a package has been picked up, fly over to Palestine and drop the package off there. You'll be awarded with boost, so you know, basically to boost your speed based on how far the package lands from the intended destination. Boost allows you to fly extremely fast for a limited amount of time. You can collect and deliver packages in whatever order you like, and you can also pick up multiple packages before delivering any of them. Note that in this case, the drop package button will automatically select a package that's currently closest to its destination. As you fly, there are many enemy helicopters trying to take you down. Trying to stop you down. Make sure to be careful and avoid them or attack back with your weapon, which apparently we have, which is also interesting that we have that.
We have a weapon.
Apparently. And there's a list of controls, which I am going to take a look at.
Okay.
Right, so we can lower our altitude and our speed, and there's boost and package, and okay, we can shoot. And we can change the Oh, we do have a health bar as well. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I can see that on the bottom corner.
Okay. Not entirely sure if Oh, time's up. Okay.
Oh wow, okay, you've got a time limit.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
that's
I
interesting.
think
Hello, Nia. Welcome.
welcome Nia. We're in the middle of, well, we just started Flight to Palestine. We're just figuring out the controls a little bit. Or, B is figuring out the controls because they're playing the game, and I'm just sat here info dumping about Palestine. So that little red marker in the bottom right, is that showing you where you've got to go to pick up? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I do have a package. I think what it is okay.
Marked for delivery to Gaza, Palestine.
I don't know if it shows us where that is. I don't know if I can go up and down, up and down in terms of altitude.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't appear to be the case, because when you...
I might have cut out slightly.
Oh, there's your weapon.
Yes.
Can you can't change your speed, can you?
You can, yes. So you can go faster and slower.
Oh, okay.
As you can, it should be going slower now.
Oh, well, Palestine is...
Ah, right. It is the red arrow is.
Yeah, we just flew past Egypt, no? Yeah, it was the Mediterranean Sea, I think.
I can hear other. Oh, I think no. In fact, I think that the sounds I can hear are possibly Chickpea in the background.
Oh yeah, that's my cat. Hi, Chickpea.
Yes, I can hear Chickpea. I'm gonna slow down actually because that'll make.
Yeah, I think you're. Yeah.
An okay attempt. Okay.
Yeah. It'll be transported from Egypt. Well,
that's interesting.
That's not bad.
Oh, there's the red. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, historic Palestine is quite small, so being able to get it in Gaza will actually be quite difficult. If you need to drop it precisely, but
the inclusion of the United States is interesting. As a how to transport from Turkey. Okay, so it does depending on where you land. Hello, Evelyn. Welcome.
You dropped it in Egypt. Oh.
I get this isn't, I guess, too...
It does seem to be about possibly bigger than historic Palestine, if we're talking about scale. But, we need a big plane to get a big job done. Hey!
Perfect delivery, great. But we'll still have to be brought across from Egypt to Palestine.
Well, I guess it possibly will anyway. Also, the Gaza Strip is tiny, so getting a perfect delivery must be quite difficult. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where the Oh, God! I accidentally.
Oh no! Oh shit!
Dropped a package. I'm not sure how the timer works, which.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, because it seemed to cut you off quite quickly before.
Yeah. Oh, there it was.
Okay, so the packages are in the hot air balloons.
Yes.
Is that okay?
And when you kind of get near them. they also destroy the helicopters around them, which I think is also interesting, kind of like looking from a resistance package good enough would be from Saudi Arabia to Palestine. I think you can also...
From Saudi to Palestine, okay. So all of the aid is going to Gaza.
Yes.
So I guess it probably is like quite directly in response to the current moment.
Yeah. I think so.
I mean, it's not like anyone ever campaigns for humanitarian aid to the West Bank.
Evelyn and Nia, hope you're both doing well today. I find the kind of, I guess, like, yeah, I'm having thought, because, like, in particular, I think one that was interesting that appeared was the US, and it even specified, like, I think, like, Tennessee.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, I actually, now that you're mentioning it, I hadn't thought about it, but it's interesting where we're collecting and delivering aid from.
Yeah, because you could have it, because, like, this is obviously kind of meant to be a game of resistance. And you could make it that you know, the US can't appear or anything, because obviously US the US government obviously is I don't there are no polite words that could be used to describe them.
You don't need to use polite words to describe the United States of America.
You truly do not. What had it? Oh, okay. You can use the wheel to change speed. So I kind of just sped up quite quickly for a second.
Hey, there we go. Good enough.
Oh, okay. You can kind of look from above as well.
Oh, well, that's very helpful. Yeah, you can definitely see historic Palestine a lot easier there. That's the Gaza Strip. That's how tiny it is, right?
Ish, brought from Israel to Palestine.
Oh dear. Oh no. Don't know about that.
God, but that's like 24 kilometers from the city center.
Yeah, I mean, it's geographically closer, but materially more difficult to transport.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a hydrate from Fuish. Thank you very much.
I will take that.
Me sipping.
In just a second.
But I am sipping. I take your point about the. Sorry, I'm typing in the fundraiser command.
No, thank you.
Chat. I take your point about the US. Yeah, it's interesting because, well, I guess that, like, obviously this game can only represent, or, you know, in the form that it's in, it can only represent countries as, like, entities, you know? And obviously, like, you know, there are political groups and kind of individuals in movements in the United States that are, you know, indigenous movements, abolitionist movements, etc., that are anti-imperialist, for sure. But, you know, the entity, the United States of America, is an imperialist entity. So, you know, in a game where you're having countries represented as entities, that's quite interesting to think about a bit. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that, I guess. There's a lot to unpack there. And then I think the other thing for us to kind of talk about would be the politics of aid, because, you know, in the same breath, we are fundraising for medical aid for Palestinians, and, you know...
Oh.
Aid, I guess, as a political structure and a system.
Sorry, the internet cut out slightly for you, I think, and you got cut off.
Oh, sorry. What was I saying? What was
talking about aid, and talking about how obviously we are fundraising as well.
Yeah. So I guess, like, obviously, like, humanitarian aid is important in a lot of ways, but also, we need to be critical of international structures and organizations and aid organizations for a lot of reasons. So that's something that we can get into a little bit as well, just in terms of the two things that come to mind in this game. But yeah. Sorry, I was just reading chat, but
no,
go ahead,
on.
Bee.
No, you go, because it's another game where like it's kind of taking up everything that I'm thinking, I guess, in a way.
No, that's totally fine. You focus on delivering aid, and I'll focus on the chat.
Thank you.
The wild thing about Gaza being the same size of the Isle of Wight is that the island only has a population of 150,000. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. It's really illustrative of how, like, insanely densely populated Gaza is, right? And again, it's because, a lot of people rightly so refer to it as an open-air prison or a concentration camp, and it's so densely populated precisely because, a huge amount of Palestinians who have been internally displaced since 1947 moved to the Gaza Strip. And obviously Israel controls their freedom of movement, which both involves people being able to enter and people being able to leave. And the region being densely populated serves their interests in a lot of ways. And, this is incredibly morbid, but unfortunately it's just true. If you have more indigenous people in a smaller space, then it makes it easier to get rid of them, or to try and get rid of them anyway.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we're seeing right now. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's incredibly morbid when you say it out loud.
Yeah. But also,
that's what a concentration camp is, guys.
Yeah. I have further thoughts, I think, about what I kind of like about what I think the game is saying with aid being from essentially any country, is that then the aid is also presented with helicopters, which I think the use of helicopters versus us in a plane is very interesting. Okay, so.
Oh, there we go. Your time's up.
I do actually think you need to shoot down the helicopters before you get the aid.
Right.
It's interesting because you wouldn't like a civilian who is trying to provide aid to another country through an aircraft would never have a helicopter, because on a private level, because there are people with private helicopters, it is a ridiculous indulgence that no one could afford. But someone might have a kind of cheap plane that can fit one person, and even not looking at the kind of private aspect of owning a helicopter, a military owning a helicopter is quite a common use of vehicle these days, particularly to kind of get around. And so I think it feels quite purposeful to put us in this kind of simple, brilliant propeller plane, nothing fancy at all, versus a helicopter which is clearly going to be owned by a nation's government, and no matter where it is, considering how many governments are not pro-Palestine, then they are trying to actively stop any kind of aid leaving the country and getting into Gaza in any shape or form. I just find that quite interesting, and it feels like it's trying to take a positive stance on the people of the world are there to support Palestine, but many of the world's governments are not.
Well, that's a really astute observation. I hadn't thought about that at all. It's really interesting.
Even like the kind of like delivery method of the hot air balloon. What a bare bones kind of grassroots kind of way to go about something like that. It's not how aid would be delivered by a government. It is something that people who are scrambling for any kind of way to provide any sense of aid would do, because it's unusual. And again, like you could imagine someone making like a patchwork balloon, just to get it up there. And again, like this kind of idea of an inexpensive way to do it, because pretty often the people that express the most amount of solidarity with Palestine are people who don't have much themselves and can see themselves in the Palestinian people because of understanding the sense of struggle and yeah. I find there's a lot of interesting stuff there from a game that kind of like on the surface looks perhaps rudimentary and simple, you know?
Yeah. There's just some really, really interesting points B that I hadn't thought of. Just picking up on a couple of points in the chat that are really great as well. Lost in Fairy says that what I was saying about kind of corralling indigenous people into a densely populated zone to make it easier to exterminate them, or at least have them out of the way, reminds them of the reserve system in Canada, or so-called Canada. Yes, 100%, exactly. And that is actually where Zionists got the idea from. And I did manage to find a relevant quote. This is from Lawrence Oliphant, who was a British Christian Zionist. We don't have time to get into Christian Zionism today, but that's something that you can learn about if you want to. But in any case, he said, and I quote, "The Arabs have laid waste to this country until it has been reduced to its present condition. The same system might be pursued, which we have adopted with success in Canada with our North American Indian tribes, who are confined to their reserves and live peaceably upon them in the midst of the settled agricultural population."
Even Chickpea is upset hearing that.
Chickpea's hearing that and being like, what the fuck? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but that is a direct quote from a Zionist, proving that they were directly inspired by the, settler colonial kind of tactics employed across Turtle Island, which is, what indigenous people refer to as, what we refer to as the continent of North America. So yeah, if it sounds familiar, that's because it is. Sorry, go ahead, B.
No, it's just it again, it kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier, how like if you think there are similar things happening towards oppressed people across the world, and it seems like those like systems of oppression seem similar, it is normally because they come from the same source, or at least the same kind of the ideas generally are kind of coming from like one particular place, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, sorry, I'm also looking at chat again.
Also, welcome, Fatal Rhythms. Lovely to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, welcome back, Fatal Rhythms. I forgot about Christian Zionists. I was so happy about that. Sorry to remind you. Unfortunately, we will need to keep them in mind. So, like, on a very real level, I think you're right to say this is what this communicates when talking about the technology in the game. I think for me, and I could be wrong, it feels like that's incidental. Everyone starts booing at the post-structuralist, but that's a worldview that the game's reinforcing, and maybe it says more about general worldviews floating around. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I personally always more on the side of death of the author, but I think regardless of what like authorial intent is, I think that your interpretation, like I really enjoy your interpretation, Bee. Yeah, I don't necessarily know about authorial intent, but reading that in that way is really interesting, like the helicopters versus the planes and the role of kind of the nations in that. I can understand a certain degree of skepticism as to that being the intent, though. What was I going to say? I was going to say something, but I feel like I'm hearing music, and I don't know if I'm just hearing things.
You are not hearing things. There is music coming from the game.
Okay. Oh my god. I was like, am I on stream having a breakdown?
I mean, maybe yes, still, but not to do with music.
Because that has happened to me before, which, you know, for anyone who was there for the Doki Doki Literature Club stream. Anyway. What was I going to say? I was going to talk about aid, right? Because that's relevant to the conversation. Chickpea is like, humanitarian aid is a tool of the global neo-colonialist structure to make global South nations dependent on humanitarian aid while decimating their political and economic structures for the purpose of global capitalist profit. Meow.
Chickpea's so smart.
Yeah, that was all her. But further to that point, humanitarian aid do be a tool of modern neocolonialism. What do I mean by that? I think that the best way to... I'm trying to think of like a succinct way to articulate it, even though I really enjoyed articulating it like in a meme format just then. Which is basically, I guess that you can think about it in a global level in the same way that, anti-capitalists, whether you're a self-described communist or anarchist or what have you, would critique philanthropy, but on a global scale. So, often the critique of philanthropy is that, the ruling class creates a political system which exploits the working class, and then, performatively gives kind of aid to the people whose poverty they benefit from and whose poverty they create, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, revolutionizing the political structure towards economic equality for all, because that would mean that they don't have power anymore. But philanthropy means that they can feel like they're good people because they gave some money to charity, right? So that critique of philanthropy, I guess, is more or less the same as the anti-imperialist critique of humanitarian aid, in the sense that, Western imperialism creates, has been creating, it's been in the work for centuries, of course, the poverty of global South nations. So it's Western imperialism for hundreds of years, which has been decimating economies and infrastructure in the global South through kind of building colonial structures and of mass, exploitation of natural resources and of labor. And then, while continuing to profit off of the exploitation of the global South, both labor and natural resource, they set up these big humanitarian aid organizations, and they go, people are starving in Africa, don't you feel really bad and want to give them money? And we're all like, oh, we feel really bad about the comfort that we have in the Western world that people don't have in Africa, and I want to feel like a good person, so I'm going to give someone £3 a month after looking at images of starving brown people on television, and then I'll go back to my life and pretend everything's okay. And this isn't to say that sometimes humanitarian aid isn't good or life-saving in the same way as sometimes giving to charity is good and life-saving.
Sorry to interrupt you, Sara. I think it's the nomination is from a heart of £50, and that means we've also reached our goal of £1,500.
Oh my god.
which is incredible. Thank you very, very much
Thank
for that.
you. Thank you so much for the donation. Do you know what this means, Bee?
I don't. I'm panicking.
This means we have to do it. This means we have to do a giveaway.
Oh yes, which we haven't done in a while. Which I don't feel prepared for.
No, me neither. That's why I'm laughing.
You keep going, and I'll try and sort that out.
You mean keep going on my explanation of?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so what was I talking about? Yeah, so I was saying that, yeah, I mean, obviously, like, humanitarian aid is important. It can be life-saving in the same way that sometimes, charity work can be life-saving, in its immediacy. Right? Like, I think that's kind of the key point here, because, people who are stuck under rubble and bleeding out in Gaza need immediate medical aid, right? And, revolutionizing the political structure of the world is going to take a little bit longer than that. So I guess that's to say that, supporting charity isn't, like, bad, but charities and likewise international humanitarian aid organizations are not going to fix the problem. It's a band-aid on a bullet wound, essentially, in a lot of ways. Which is to say that this perpetual state of poverty will continue to exist if we don't, understand poverty and war and et cetera, as political crises that require political solutions, i.e. revolutionizing the political systems in order to abolish capitalism and imperialism. I hope that that's, like, a sufficiently accessible and nuanced take on the situation. But yeah, that's and I guess, like, all of the above is relevant to what's happening in this game, which is very much a game about aid, international aid. It's also very relevant to current events with regards to Palestine, because I don't know how many of y'all have seen, but anyone who's interested and following probably has, that the ICJ ruling of it being plausible that Israel has committed genocide. Wow, thank you. Declaring something plausible that we've known for months is happening. But anyway, that was very swiftly followed by imperialist nations deciding to defund UNRWA, which, again, from exactly the perspective I've just talked about, myself and many Palestinians are highly critical of UNRWA. However, UNRWA does give critical aid, life-saving aid, to Palestinians, and UNRWA also funds schools and hospitals in Palestine. So defunding UNRWA is pretty. It's pretty bad, So it's pretty bad, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because sometimes things are so bad that the only way I know how to react is to laugh. It's like hysterical laughing,
The code. Did I say what the code is for, or did I respond to chat? I don't know. Either way,
the code is for.
Yes.
Drum roll, please. I don't know if you can hear that. Assassin's Creed Valhalla on PC.
Yeah,
whoa,
which is
that's
very
a
cool.
really expensive game. You
Yes,
can get it for
is.
free on PC if you enter this giveaway.
Yeah, so not a physical thing in this case. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, Dang is right. We had some. We should say that we had some folks very generously donate us these codes.
We did,
so
yes.
Huge thanks to the people who did that.
We also have some more, like a bunch of other indie game codes as well, which will probably be like kind of when we hit the next goal of like 1750. So still actually have more to give away as things continue, because codes kind of last, I think, pretty much forever. So yeah, if anyone does want to enter, it is not a physical good, and I think should work internationally.
It should work internationally, yeah. So, yeah. Do we want to roll now, or do we want to talk about the game a little bit and then roll for it?
Sorry, repeat that. I was trying to do a quick Google.
That's okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about the game first, in case, anyone else wants to enter the giveaway, or should we just roll for it now?
Which game? The Assassin's Creed game, or the
No, the game that we just
the
played.
game that we just played? Okay. Do I have more thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I just did that whole spiel about like international aid, so I don't know if we want to talk more about like how that game was representing aid at all.
Yeah, my personal interpretation of it is that it, like, kind of like what I, continuing from what I was saying earlier, I don't interpret it as it is obviously international aid in the sense that it is aid across multiple nations, but it's not aid in the sense of like it doesn't come across as aid from a organized group, because, and again, this could just be easily because it's a very simple looking game, but there's no like logos or branding, and it's kind of like, as I said, very grassroots, feels very a group of people. It feels like mutual aid on a much larger scale. It feels like individuals coming together to try and help Gaza rather than any particular kind of body or group that provides aid as like an established thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess that, like, again, regardless of whether or not it's incidental, just based on like what's in the text, it is interesting, like, who is this aid coming from, and who's delivering this aid, and who's receiving this aid, and all of these sorts of things are questions that are kind of left vague and unanswered in the game, which, again, could be incidental on account of kind of like just using simple assets on a short kind of time limit, but it's still interesting. It does, I guess, yeah, it does kind of make it feel very different to like the international humanitarian aid complex.
Yeah. Again, to me, authorial intent aside, it feels like people doing whatever they can to get aid into Gaza, which we are kind of like seeing on a real world sense in quite a different way when you look at upsettingly when you look at like GoFundMes for individuals or groups of families or things like that, because of the high costs that have now come about of getting out of Gaza, and the kind of sense of mutual aid that comes from sharing said posts, from donating to said posts, to organizing around that. It's this, like dropping aid from a plane through a parachute in the desperate hopes that it arrives there safely, because it says like you got close but it arrived here and it will need to come from here to get there, and it, like, I was particularly kind of like upset how unless you got like particularly close, it would say you got this close but it landed in Israel and needs to get to Palestine. And I think if maybe the game was slightly more fleshed out, I think if it landed in what Israel likes to call itself, Israel, you should be penalized. It should not actually get in there. It shouldn't count for anything. In a possibly slightly more fleshed out version of the game.
Yeah, totally, because I guess that they just measured it in terms of like geographical distance, but like if it drops in Israel, like it's not getting to Gaza.
I think those are all my thoughts. So I'm happy to roll it as long as it works. If you are.
Yeah, let me open up that tab. Okay, yeah, I mean, we've got 4 people entered.
Cool.
Let's roll it. And the winner is Donak Dumb 69.
Hell
You
yeah.
get a free copy of Assassin's Creed Valhalla on PC. How does that feel? You just saved like £60 plus.
Congratulations. I will send that to you now, so that's sorted.
Hey, hello Cosmoland. Welcome to the stream.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, we'll send those codes to you and stuff so that you could
Thank you so much, Sara, for the £10 donation. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much. Oh, okay.
That's entirely reasonable, and that's very, very kind of you to say. We do actually have some other codes, so I will sort that out for you. Like we'll roll again so that someone can get Assassin's Creed as well. We'll do a couple giveaways. We've got plenty of codes to give away. If you're okay with that, Sara.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, Let's roll again. Can I roll again? Yeah. Restart, and the new winner is Nia. XOXO, Gossip Girl.
Hell yeah, Nia.
Who just expressed the sentiment that they're missing out on a bit of Assassin's Creed. So, congratulations. I hope that will satisfy the Assassin's Creed desire. I think that Valhalla is an enormous game as well. So, very, very good game for playing if you're in an allegorical cave, to be honest. I haven't played Valhalla yet, but I did play Odyssey last year, and I played it for like 150 hours, so I think Valhalla is at least as big if you're looking for a time sink. No problem, Lost in Fairy. Thank you so much for stopping by the stream, and I hope you have a good class. 300 hours in Odyssey, and still haven't finished. It really is an enormous game. Okay, awesome.
Cool. I will get the I've made a little note for myself of the codes and who to give them to, and I'll sort that out once the stream has wrapped up.
Thank you so much for doing that, Bee.
No problem. And thank you so much.
Spend a day playing it and yelling parkour. Absolutely. I've been reading quite a bit about the development of the first Assassin's Creed lately because I'm working on a video essay about it, and I think it's quite funny that a lot of the first Assassin's Creed developers are like white French guys who watched a bunch of videos of white French people doing parkour to design the free running system in the game.
And also saying things like what you shared in the Discord of not remembering what language a name is.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm gonna spill some tea in the video essay whenever it comes out.
Sure.
I started writing it, so hopefully it'll just be a couple months now, maybe. Yeah, it was originally meant to be a Prince of Persia sequel, you know, which is a notoriously not at all racist game. And then they decided to make Assassin's Creed, but that's another story for another time.
In the meantime, if you feel ready for our final game, I've lost my notes about it. Here we are.
Land of Olives?
It is by Phantasm Solutions.
I'm pretty excited about this just based on the promo information.
Yes. Where? Which? Sorry, hang on. I just need to. Oh.
Assassin's Creed is a direct descendant of a YouTube video of a fan video of Esbjorn, Svensson trio to black and white parkour footage. You are correct. You are almost exactly the correct vibe of the Assassin's Creed origin story.
Apparently I didn't actually have Land of Atlas downloaded. I had the installer downloaded. But now it is.
Okay, awesome.
So it'll boot up in just a second, and I'll make sure that actually appears on OBS this time.
It's okay. The sentiment came across, and you're exactly right. But you gotta let us know how Valhalla is. It's on my list. It's on my list. I'll get to it eventually. I think I just played a lot of Assassin's Creed for a while, and then I was like, you know what? I need a break.
Oh, not what I wanted. Apologies. There is a chance, because it doesn't seem like there are audio settings that we might have to save discussions for. Actually, can I boost Discord audio? Let me just check. I don't think I can, because it only does it in group calls for some reason. Oh no, Sara's already set to maximum. Great, okay. Let us know how audible Sara is. I'm not sure if there's much I can do to change that, unfortunately. But we'll see how it goes, basically. I need to see if I can find the controls, because things weren't moving there. No, because I'm talking to Sara through Discord, all the audio is coming through the PC, so it's just one audio source, unfortunately. Yes, that's something like I can try to figure out, like possibly for future streams. I'm used to streaming with a person in the same room rather than someone who's in a different city. So that kind of Windows volume mixer, that's possibly a good idea.
Smart. I'm always so glad that we have people who are smart in the chat.
Yeah, me too.
Smart. But specifically women in STEM, because I'm not a woman in STEM. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
There are different kinds of smart, and Evelyn has got the smart that we really needed.
We really don't have, and yet our hubris compels us to stream video games and talk about video games.
Great, okay, yeah, now the game doesn't sound too loud or anything. Oh, that's much better.
Oh! I'm looking at it on Twitch because I can't see it on Discord yet, but that title screen is, I love it.
Okay, you should be able to see it now, and I think it's on Twitch as well, yes?
Yes, I can see it on Discord. I love this! Look at this, guys!
This is, like... I'm immediately a fan of the use of documentary footage.
It's the use of documentary footage and the, like, pixel art, like, logo, and the font choice, and the sparkles, and I'm already... delicious.
I'm just trying to see if I can take a look at the controls on itch, so I'll just be 1 second.
Okay, no problem. We're getting some love in the chat for this title screen as well. Legit marked it as a 10 out of 10 from like 0.4 seconds of footage. Great art direction. Yeah.
Okay, I don't have to navigate the menu anyway. I will read this. Al-Nakba 1948. The Nakba was the violent displacement and dispossession of Palestinians and the destruction of their society, culture, identity, political rights, and national aspirations. The term is used to describe both the events of 1948 as well as the ongoing occupation of the Palestinian territories, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and persecution and displacement of Palestinians throughout the region.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Al-Nakba means the catastrophe in Arabic. And Fouche is very kindly telling us that top right, perhaps in the opening screen, was saying area names like Jerusalem, Jaffa, Bethlehem, etc.
Thank you very much, Fouche, again as always. Okay,
Game Assist's unofficial Arabic translator.
Wow, this was very fleshed out. Village chief, so many people forced to leave their homes. This truly is an Akbar. Now they are stranded and homeless outside our village. Very, very quickly, I think also like tying into the conversations of Assassin's Creed, I find the main character's design quite interesting. The kind of like, it has a very like, you know, like heroic protagonist look. It's a very well designed character, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because you know, I've talked before, like I think I did a little bit in the intro for my neo-colonialism video about how, in spite of all of Assassin's Creed's flaws, like it can't be overstated that when I was 10 years old and I played Assassin's Creed, I was like, I'm playing like an Arab guy in a game and he's the hero and he's cool, and I thought that that was like the best thing ever. And it really can't be understated, even if there's like a lot of stuff to kind of critique about it as an adult and stuff.
For sure.
And I was reading like a couple of days ago actually that like I'm not the only person who felt that way. I was reading a really interesting article about Assassin's Creed, and it referred to an article that I think was co-written by a bunch of I think Arabi people in game design who were similarly like expressing that sentiment about the first Assassin's Creed game. So yeah, I mean, it's a thing.
Definitely with the context of games at the time, you know, the original Assassin's Creed came out, I think 2007.
It did, yeah. I remember it well.
Yeah, with you know, we're still living very much in a post 9/11 world. It's still kind of the effects of it, and the prevalence of the growing prevalence of Call of Duty at the time, with the shift to online gaming being so big, and then in turn the prevalence of the kind of savagification of anyone that wasn't white, but you know, particularly MENA and SWANA regions, and the feeding into the narrative that if anyone is brown, they are a terrorist. To have something like Assassin's Creed, as imperfect as it might be, is I can wholeheartedly understand why it at the time felt like such a big deal, you know?
Yeah, for sure. This just makes me think that I'm gonna add Altair to my video game characters to Photoshop a kafia onto.
Sure. And no problem, Nia. Thank you for the lurk, and enjoy your lurk. Cool, I'll keep reading. We cannot leave them like this, living in tents. We have to help them. Our boy Jabba here is trained in the matters of crafting and building. He will be able to help as many brothers as possible. He'll also be able to educate our kids about the history behind this crisis. That's interesting, an interesting line.
Very interesting.
Look at how so many of our brothers and sisters are homeless. They set up tents outside our village. With not enough food and in such conditions, they will suffer even more. Build some houses and start making meals. Keep your eye on everybody's health. Build more hospitals if necessary. Our people's hope will go down if more tragedies occur. Do not let that happen, or it will be game over for us.
Oh my god.
Keep our hopes up. Go now and help everyone in need.
Okay, no pressure or anything.
Yeah. Okay, X to interact, B to open the build menu, and Z to open the log book. Each day passes by, changes are made in the village. If hope reaches 0, it is game over. If you finish all research skills, you will successfully finish the game. Keep making meals and home people, and follow the village chief's main quests. Open help and logbook for more extra details.
Okay, I'm really interested in Fush's opinion on this actually, but a lot of Arabic speakers have been quite stumped by the name of the protagonist for Assassin's Creed, and I think that some of us have looked at it and been like, how are you meant to pronounce that?
Really?
Yeah, I think that it's... I think the closest thing that I've heard people guess is Altair. Because obviously Altair is not... That's not Arabic.
Sure.
but I heard and read the developers saying that they were using the Arabic word for a bird of prey, but that's not like a name that you. It's not like a name. So yeah. Sorry, just because there was a chat about his name in the chat.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, in your quest, we need to build houses urgently. There are too many people living in tents outside the village, and this will harm their health.
This is really interesting. Like visually, it's giving like a Pokemon or a Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I saw someone. Yeah, Nia mentioned if this was an RPG Maker game, which I also would not be surprised by. So there's a warehouse. Oh, you can talk to children. Well, anyone, I guess. Young girl, I hope she gets tired soon. I don't want to be the first to lose. We've been running around the world for hours. Okay, can I build anywhere? I need wood.
That's not a name, but I believe it could be like a nickname or a call sign. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a name at all because his full name is Al-Tayr Ibn Lahad, which means bird of prey, son of nobody. Which is, sorry, that's just so funny. But
right, we need materials. Okay, so we need to find wood. We need to find 10 pieces of wood. Oh, okay.
Oh, I mean, again, this is like gameplay I've done in Animal Crossing, which
yeah, for sure.
A lot to unpack here. Yeah, it's definitely like some white guys put words into Google Translate to come up with this name. And then what I shared in the Discord the other day was that the game developer, the creative director for Assassin's Creed was doing an interview like only recently, like in 2018 or something, and he was like he forgot the language that it was in. He was like, oh yeah, we called him bird of prey in like what was it, Persian or something? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Okay, so you can... How do I not do this? Okay, I can just press escape. Right, so we need to build 5 houses. Yeah, this is definitely giving Stardew Valley, like particularly with the kind of... Yeah, I guess choosing to where to, because I mean Caitlin's playing it at the minute, and so I guess fresh
like
in the mind.
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley, yeah.
Yeah.
Having to go and collect resources like this. Again, this is kind of what we were talking about a bit last stream with like recontextualizing familiar gameplay mechanics in a wildly different setting.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've not played loads of Stardew Valley, but yeah, it's mechanically like quite similar, but like in such a like wildly different context. But it's interesting in terms of its approach to like portraying, I guess, you know, if we're thinking about the theme of the jam towards a free Palestine, it's really interesting way of responding to that theme.
Well, like we noted in the description about like, you know, building it, and this quite literally involves building. So like it's we've had quite a range of submissions, and it's interesting where people might take certain things more literally or less so. And I guess on the building kind of like aspect of it, it's been taken a little bit more literally, and that's like completely fine and working in quite interesting ways.
Well, it's also really interesting because I guess that, you know, a lot of resource management sims and things like end up having a very like Well, either they have a feel which is very abstracted from reality, like something like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing is like quite utopic,
Yeah.
or they feel like very like colonial and very morbid.
Yeah.
And by contrast, I think that when you choose to respond to the prompt towards a free Palestine by creating a resource management sim, you're highlighting the I guess both the fact of kind of resource scarcity in Palestine of Palestinians, and you're also highlighting that Palestinians need resources and they need control of their own resources in order to kind of build and rebuild. And you're highlighting that in a way that's really, really interesting, really fresh, actually. I think this is quite a cool, really, really interesting way of responding to this prompt.
Okay.
Sorry, more Assassin's Creed chat. Very briefly, it's not based in the 9th century. It's based in the 1190s. I think 1197. So it's based during the Third Crusade. The locations are Damascus, Jerusalem, Masyaf, Akka, and Arsuf, which are all some of those are Palestinian cities, and some of those are like Syrian, Jordanian, Lebanese cities potentially. I'm not 100% sure. Definitely Syrian, but I'm not 100% sure about the others. But that was all kind of vaguely in the Umayyad provinces and the Crusader states at that time. So yeah, I don't know. It's still like a very much like a white person Google translating a name, edgy name kind of situation. But back to the game. Sorry.
Sure. No, don't worry. Good job, boy. Here are some rewards that will help you on your quests. Hope Risen. Okay. A young girl bawling her eyes out in tears. Why is this happening? What did we do to deserve this? What happened, sweet child? Can you tell me what happened so that I can help? We're here for you. When the soldiers came, my father hid me, told me to run. I ran to a hill nearby, but I couldn't just leave. I saw them all. They came to our village, broke down our doors, dragged us out from our homes. They rounded us up. How could they? I'm here, I'm listening. Try to continue what happened. It's okay if you don't. Tell me what you need, we can take you to a place to stay, or... They asked the men if they owned any weapons. The ones who had weapons, soldiers would take in the home where they stored the weapon. After a few minutes, the soldiers would walk out, holding the old weapon. But the men who guided them there were not seen again, killed in their own homes, murdered even after cooperating. The ones who didn't have any weapons were shot down as soon as they said no and left bleeding on the ground. All this blood. Why? Why? We've always been so kind to any visitors. Why is this happening? It's crushing to have seen all this, but you're safe now. We'll take care of you. Let me get you something to keep you warm, get you a meal, and let us find you a place to stay. Don't worry, I'll be back with these things. You just try to hold still. I think this is kind of a similar experience to Sound of Silence, where it's presenting such horrifically emotional... I think it's interesting once again about how we've having another game where we're seeing the way that children are affected, because obviously it's been like a massive part of the conversation of what's been happening to Gaza because obviously of again, as a reminder, the population of Gaza being half of it being children. It's been very interesting to see children being put at the forefront within these games in such a way. But
Yeah,
also,
it's yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I guess in Sound of Silence it was slightly different because you were playing as a child, a young boy, and trying to look after his sister. But in this case, you are an adult. You are a caretaker to children. You are trying to, as you can maybe been able to tell from the conversation, it felt like he's trying to be considerate of the trauma of the experience and not forcing her to relive it and to do whatever she needs done, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's really really interesting observations. And I think that like in terms of the discourse at large, the focus on children is interesting because on one hand there's the very practical reason that like such a enormous part of the population of Palestinians living in Gaza are children. That's true. But I also think there's a certain like politics of victimhood,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that people always want Palestinians to be the perfect innocent victim,
Yeah.
and I think that it's a lot easier for many people, especially if they have like unchallenged racism, which again, many of us have internalized racism. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you need to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that
Looking at you, the French.
no, they're bad people.
Yeah, no, yeah.
They suck. Evil to the core. They're born that way. JK. But anyway,
For legal reasons, JK.
for legal reasons, JK. But yeah, I guess that people find it easier to feel for a child or care about a child or want to help a child because the child in their mind is this like innocent perfect victim. So there's I guess there's an aspect to it that's a bit more troubling that I kind of want to raise and think about.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
But her story really reminds me of a film that I think that if you haven't seen it, folks should definitely check out, called Farha, which I think is on Netflix. And it's about a Palestinian girl who is displaced from her village during the Nakba. So it's historical fiction, and well, it's based on something that actually happened to, I think, the grandmother of the director, and who's Jordanian Palestinian, and basically she has to hide and she witnesses like a bunch of things happening, and it's harrowing, but it's a really fantastic movie, and what this girl was saying was really reminding me of that.
Sorry, I was just trying to. The reason I'm kind of trying to look at the menu here is that I think there's a chance certain parts aren't working, unfortunately.
Okay.
It doesn't let me go throughout the menu, no matter
Oh my God.
Why.
Sorry, there's a martyr section. Yeah, and the population.
Gosh, yes.
So people can die, basically.
Yes. I've figured out how to get through the menu, as you can see.
Technology resistance.
Okay, I need to figure out how to make food.
Caitlin was saying I'm interested in the choice of trees because do they look like olive trees? It's a good question. We can take a look at that. Israel plant on top of Palestinian homes with non-native trees. Yes, they have historically done that. I'm not good enough at recognizing different types of trees to really say, unfortunately.
I'm also not a tree expert.
Sadly. Yes, Swamp Goth is 100% correct. People don't need to be perfect to deserve their basic needs and safety. They just have to be people. The tree sprite has stock image vibes, but vaguely reminds me of a birch. Yeah, I don't think it's an olive tree. It might be that, but I'm not an expert on Palestinian flora, unfortunately.
I want to go home. Currently, what I'm just trying to do is just figure out the controls. Because here we have the quests.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if there are just buttons that I'm not pressing. But there's a chance that maybe just something slipped through the cracks and because I can't look at the other quests that we want, the Far From Home one to do with the little girl.
Okay.
Oh,
hello.
yeah. It seems
People need food to survive.
Feel free to read.
Sorry, I was just gonna read that. People need food to survive. Bring raw food from farms and trees and send them to the kitchens.
Okay.
So we've got a new quest.
Okay, we need to generate 100 meals, so I need to find the farm. Possibly this. Also running low on health, which is concerning.
Oh no. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, so this obviously will be. Presumably, these are meant to be olive trees, judging from the fruit.
They might not be. They also kind of look like unripe almonds or apples.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm not 100% sure. Almonds are, quite a common crop in Palestine as well.
Can you listen to our song? Can you decipher the codes?
Yeah, so this, as I was saying, oh my god, because I know this song. So this is a song that Palestinian women used to sing, and it's in code. So these aren't like comprehensible Arabic words. This is like a code, and they used to sing it outside of the prisons, basically to communicate with imprisoned people during the British Mandate period. It should be said. So, this is even before.
Sure.
Like Israel became a thing.
So it seems like they are olives. From the dialogue, I will pick some olives to use for my secret hummus recipe. We make the best hummus in the world.
They are olive trees. Well, nice catch, Caitlin. Oh no, someone passed away.
Oh, okay.
And hope dropped. I think the stars are a hope bar.
I have a memory with every tree here, especially the largest tree on the left.
Let me look up the name of the song for you guys.
Sure, please do. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that's interesting. That kind of ties into what Evelyn says. It looking pics of all the trees, the bark is darker than on the sprites, and that's kind of like exemplified here. This is probably more likely to be a more custom sprite, and maybe the others are stock. I need to try and see if I can make food somewhere. I need to try and find the kitchen. Okay, that's the end there. Again, it's another kind of similar to. Okay, hospital, graveyard. It's interesting. There are like people with different quests around the town.
Thank you so much, Lag Studio, for the name of the
Oh, thank you.
song. Ayn al Gabal. Ayn al Jabal. Yeah, that. Sorry, when I understand things in Arabic, I'm like so chuffed. Yeah, Eye of the Mountain. That's right. That's right. Thank you. And I was just looking it up, and it's in a code or encrypted style of language called, I think, Terwida. Um, yeah. Yes, it does seem like there are like a bunch of side quests and things for you to do.
Yeah, I think the only problem that I'm facing is okay, so we can generate 20 meals at a time.
Okay.
I think unfortunately the game is needs a bit of tightening up in places, because like I can't necessarily seem to navigate through menus so easily. Which is a shame, because there's definitely some interesting, again, like what I spoke about last on time on stream, to I guess as a refresher of recontextualizing kind of not tropes, but like gaming genres that will be very familiar with, that some people might consider overdone or this, that, or the other, but putting them in a new light where they become weightier due to the narrative that's being told. Like here, like gather food and then bring it to the kitchen so they can generate meals. Like this, is something I feel like I've seen in something before. And it feels different. It feels more important in a way.
Yeah, well, I guess because you're like, oh, I need to build houses so that people aren't homeless, and I need to generate meals so that people don't starve, and otherwise people will die and
which
lose
is
hope.
What is happening currently, which is upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Caitlin says, it's more high stakes than your average farming game. And yeah, I wouldn't disagree that maybe there's possibly a way that it could like better explain what it is you're meant to be doing. I think like it's one of those small things where like maybe if there was a map so you knew how to get about town, kind of thing.
I think it's pretty impressive considering the time restrictions.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it's okay.
Could always I mean.
It's what I've seen lots of game jam games that have been turned into like fully fledged things. Like this is like a really great foundation for something that I think could be a really interesting kind of somewhat deconstruction of the sim genre.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say that we could always and folks in the chat, if you wanted to as well, reach out to this creator and kind of say, hey, like this was really cool, like did you think about
I think you might have cut out there slightly, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying that it's always worth reaching out to the creator and
for sure
encouraging them to work on this or finish it or something if it's if it's unfinished. Maybe you don't want to, and that's fine, but or just to even just to express your appreciation for their work, because
so like every itch.io game page has a comment section that you can comment on. It doesn't have like reviews or anything, but you can leave comments to kind of give your thoughts. So like, do feel free. These are all free, so you can go check all of them out. Yeah, and there's the link to Phantasm Solutions, the developer of this game. I think I remember the initial prompt saying bring it to the kitchen, but I'm not sure if that was in the same building as where the quest started. Yeah, I think this is the kitchen, and it says generating meals, but I can't seem to make there's kind of like a bread symbol to the right that I can't seem to make go up. So I'm not entirely sure what to do there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, there seems to be like an oven, like a bread oven.
Yeah, and I go to the butcher shops and add food to them to generate.
Oh my god! Ahmed, is that you? Is that Ahmed Mustafa who created Sound of Silence?
Oh wow, really? Hello.
Hi! We loved your game.
Yeah, massively. It was beautiful.
That's so... I mean, thank you so much for being here. That's so lovely to see you here. And that's also very kind of you to say that our stream gave you motivation to work on it. Yeah, I mean, we loved it, and I've saved the VOD from that stream because we're going to upload it to YouTube so that more people can see it, and yeah, but we just loved it, and we played the other game that you submitted today as well, which is really cool. We talked about that a lot as well. Oh my god, hi! Welcome.
Very, very, very lovely to have you here. I'm going to try and reset the game. Okay. Just to see if that fixed the controls.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth another try because this is like... It's got some really cool stuff going on.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to see if I can get it to work. We're going to try and take another look at the game. And see if we can get it to work. I'll take a quick look on the itch page again. See if there's anything that mentions about it. I'll get the game started in the meantime.
It does really have to be said that that title screen goes hard.
Oh, also, actually, if anyone is interested in game development, on the Land of Olives page, there are free assets for the pixel art flag of Palestine that can be seen in the game, for the NPCs, and for the buildings as well.
Oh,
that you can download and use for yourself.
Cool.
Which is cool. I hadn't actually noticed that before.
That's really nice. We've had hydrate and stretch redeemed.
I will take that. Thank you.
Man, you're gonna have to trust that we're stretching, even though you can't see us.
I am stretching.
There's
the sound.
What I'm realizing is that I'm very stiff.
Yeah. Okay.
Whoa.
So I will try and get us to roughly back where we were before.
Thank you for that, Swamp Goth.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Also, Ahmed, you're very sweet. And I'm feeling very very affirmed right now that that having
Oh, can you hear me? Sorry, I think you might have cut out again.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I was just saying that it's nice to know that having a game jam and creating the space for folks to make games about Palestine is something that's meaningful.
Me too. Absolutely.
And I don't know, I definitely want to do it again, so...
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, unfortunately it seems that the menus don't quite work entirely, so I can't access everything.
Okay. That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame.
However, as we said, what was the name of the studio again? Was it Phantasm Solutions?
Yeah.
And I'll drop their link in the chat again. You know, if you want to see more of this game, if you want to see it kind of fleshed out, some of the bugs fixed, a bigger version, because you like what you see, then reach out to Phantasm Solutions. Tell them how awesome you thought this was, and that you want to support them to make more.
Please do.
I'm gonna do that. I would definitely encourage all of y'all to go and check out these games for yourselves. So I'm just gonna pull up the link to the Game Jam in the chat, so that you can go to the Game Jam page, check out all the entries, and give them a play for yourself. Because they're really worthwhile, and it doesn't take that long. And you know, if they want to kind of create further work or expand on their games, express your support for that, because these submissions have been absolutely amazing. It's been incredible to see the work that's been submitted to this jam. We've had so much to talk about. And yeah, I mean, huge thanks to all of the creative folks who have submitted their amazing work, including you, Ahmed, if you're still in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming to the stream. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for hanging out in the chat. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you, Fwoosh, for being the unofficial Arabic translator of Game Assist. Thank you for the donations to medical aid for Palestinians. Thank you so much for your generosity. And oh my gosh, that's a lot of things. Is there anything else that I need to thank you guys for? I don't know. But all the love and thanks in the world from us.